last video I made, I just was describing some modifications I was going to do to my fuel system. Currently I have a Perkins 6354 range 4 diesel engine it's got less than 50 hours on it from complete overhaul, and I also have a single Racor. So I was going to do double Racors, and I bought actually two of these, which is actually the Chinese version. They're significantly cheaper, and from examining them, they are pretty decent. A couple little things I don't like on them, but for the most part, they appear to be as good or close to as good as the Racors, the actual Racors. I mean, including, this is actually probably a little bit better. This is all brass, and it's got a nice, let's see here, nice O-ring on there. And so, I mean, some of this stuff is actually pretty good. I wouldn't use these fittings. I would get like some SAE or AN or JIC fittings, compression fittings to go to the existing lines. But I was going to put two of these with 4 valves and a concoction of lines, and actually I was going to use aluminum lines, which I think are just fine, but a couple people on trawler forums and also Tate Westbrook was kind of picking my aluminum lines apart, and so I did get everything I needed to do the copper lines. And then I thought about it some more, and I decided against doing the dual Racors myself. Not because I don't think I can do it. I've made and plumbed many systems, stainless steel lines, copper lines, aluminum lines, whatever. I've bent the lines and flared them, and for airplanes, for 30 years or more. So I'm sure that I can make them. However, when you have two of these with a valve on either end, and another one of these over here with a valve on either end, and then a myriad of fittings in between, those are all failure points. So I decided against doing it the way I was going to do it. Just too many areas where the fittings would fit together with Loctite or Teflon tape or Teflon paste, whatever I was going to use. And I just decided that they were going to be potential failure points. And the only thing that has stopped this diesel engine for me has been this Racor and its fittings and components, allowing air to get in it or too much water. So I decided against doing this, even though I bought all the parts. It doesn't matter. For this particular component, this particular section, I just want what's best for the boat and what's going to be most reliable. However, I do want dual system. So I said screw it, and I just purchased this thing, which is the Racor, true Racor 75900 FXH, which is a dual Racor that is built in, and it just has this big duplex valve. And then so when you turn the handle, it shuts off both sides, inlets and outlets, or at least diverts the fuel to where you want it. As a matter of fact, wherever this pointer goes, if you point it to this side, oops, it cycles the fuel through this side. Okay, and then if you go down, let's see, we're here. So there's the down is all on right here. You can see the legend there. Down is all on, and then of course pointing to this side is this one, and then this is all off. So generally what you would do is you would be operating, say, with this side on, and then if you got air in the system, or there was some kind of component here, or the filter started getting so clogged that the engine was bogging, you basically just have to take this and go down. Don't go up, go down, because it'll go all, and then to this one, and then you can actually take this one completely apart. You can pull the top off and change the filter, inspect the filter. If something was wrong with the bowl, you could take the bowl off and clean it, do whatever you need to do. You could drain it and refill the top with fuel. You could do whatever you need to do without shutting down. provided that your problem is within here, either the fuel, dirty fuel filter, or a problem with air or a component or a part and piece on this, or too much water. If you get too much water and you know your water has just gotten up and up and up and you didn't notice it, and it's getting to the point where it's starting to go into the system, then you can just swap it over and then at least deal with it in the short term. And then you could probably watch this one to see if water is continuing to climb, see how much water you're getting in, and if it's an emergency and if you have to stop or whatever. The connections for this are simple. Let's see here. Which one's in? Outlet, inlet. Okay, so you have one inlet, one outlet, and then the position of this handle will just tell you whether the inlet fuel is going to go through here or both, which I wouldn't do, but I would only do it one at a time, so you keep one in reserve for redundancy. So this is a pretty sweet unit. Normally this is about $1,300, but I got one. It was a open box, never used, but it's been sitting for a little while, and it was $700. I think the guy was asking $8.99, and it was $8.99 buy it now or make offer, and we went back and forth a little bit, and I got it for $700. There's a couple other things about this that are much improved from the. This isn't an actual Racor, but it's basically the same. I have a Racor on my boat, but it's the same. I'll do this one-handed. I won't get my finger in the way. So, one of the things about the 500 series that's a royal pain in the butt is getting the filter out. You have to reach down here and get these little tabs, and a lot of times they're broken or you break them. Now one-handed, I don't even know if I can get this out, so there we go. Usually I have a little pick and I just grab it with that. Let's see if I can get it out. Not quite. See, that's one of the things that I don't like about the 500 series. Here we go, come on. Alright. So here's the filter, and it has these little tabs. Now this isn't even a Racor, but it is a copy of the Racor, and it's basically the same, and the same problems with getting the filter out of the 500. And then of course down there you've got some of your parts and components. But on the, let's turn this around, on the 900 series, it's quite a bit better for this reason and this reason alone. Let's see. So if you notice, that lid is already popping off all by itself. So why is it popping off? Okay. This filter, hopefully I can do this here, is spring loaded. So when you take that thing off, the lid off, it's already ready to come out. Now this is actually a real Racor filter, unlike this one. Alright, so there's a spring-loaded mechanism down there that pops this filter up. Makes it very, very easy to get to. Alright, so let's take a look at the difference between a 900 series and a 500 series filter. So, that's obviously a huge difference. I would estimate that it's just about double in surface area up to down, and the circumference is probably, I don't know, probably 3 times. It's always more than you think in a circle when you're comparing them. But the filtration capability of this filter versus a 500 series has got to be, and also the depth of the pleats. You know, the depth of the pleats is actually much more. So there's more depth of pleats in each one as compared to this too. So the filtration surface area of this compared to that, it's got to be 5 times at least, if not more. It could be 10 times. I don't really know. There might be some data on this on Parker's website, but this is a much better filter. The 500 is a good filter, but this is a serious filter. And then if you have the redundancy of two of these side by side, you can switch from one and then to the other. I mean, this should be a much better unit, much more reliable, you know, a layer of redundancy that can be changed on the fly, a little bit easier to service the filters, and these connections are done at Parker or Racor when they put it together. They're all done professionally, so all you got to do is hook up these two lines and make sure they're tight. Now these are actually fittings that I got because this comes with, I believe this is dash 10, would be dash 10 AN fitting or JIC. This should be a 37-degree flare. So it took a little bit of researching, but there was a speed shop that had this reducer from dash 10 to dash 4, which is what my lines are. And this is in one nice piece. This is an anodized aluminum. The aluminum should be fine. It's anodized. It's plenty strong. And it shouldn't have a corrosion issue because it is anodized. So this is a pretty nice unit. Should be much more reliable. Pretty happy with it. I'm glad I bought it. It's pretty pricey, but I don't care. You know, besides the engine itself, this is, you know, in the lift pump, this is probably the most important component on a diesel engine to keep it running. So what else? What about the size of these? Let's take a look at the size comparison. What about the size of these? You know, does anybody think that this is too big? You know, this one is, I think it's 60 gallons per hour for the 500 series. These each are 180 gallons per hour capable. I've heard a couple people say that, you know, for 135 horsepower, because mine's 135 horsepower, that this is overkill or too much. That the turbine action won't work properly because there isn't enough fuel flow to make it work. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. This isn't really a centrifuge by any means. It's just a flow director, and it does kind of swirl it around. And you know, if you ever seen water come out of these, then you know, it's not like it pours out. You know, it just kind of seeps out and falls to the bottom. I have a video where I was doing a little bit of fuel polishing, and you can see the water come out of that, and that was flowing a lot more fuel than what the engine would do. So it was exaggerated in being able to see how fast the water would come out. This should work just as well, and I think that the centrifuge or the centrifugal, whatever that's called, is kind of a minor characteristic. I think the major characteristic is these filters. These are supposed to be, you know, water repellent, and the rate that the fuel goes through this filter. If you're sucking up water that has coalesced at the bottom of the tank, it's going to go in the line, and you don't want it to emulsify or mix. You want it to come through the line in droplets of water. If it comes through the line in droplets of water, it's going to fall out no matter what that centrifuge is. It's just going to, the way that it's designed, you know, it goes in here, out through these little turbine outlets, and it's so slow the water just falls right to the bottom, if you've ever seen it. And it's just large enough to where, you know, you get to see this water kind of collect at the bottom. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with the size of this at all. You know, you could probably get a filter system so big that it's just ridiculous and not necessary and begins to take up too much space. But I don't believe, you know, that for two as a matter of fact, in the way that this is packaged, it's very tight, very small. In my old setup that I was going to do with the two 500s, with all my 4 valves instead of one center duplex valve, it would have taken up every bit of space as this. This is a pretty compact unit. So also then, you know, go back to the filter. with that kind of surface area, a lot of people will recommend that the Racor for something like a Perkins be 30 micron. Some people will run 10. Probably shouldn't. This is actually a 2 micron that just came with the unit. I ordered a bunch more of different. I've got 30 and 10 over there. So I think that with the additional surface area that I could step up a little bit and go from a 30 micron to a 10 micron and have no worries about premature clogging of the filter with this system. And if it does clog, I've got two 10 micron filters in this system. I'll be able to, if one gets clogged and starts bogging, I'll just take that handle and flip it over, and then next time I'll put 30 microns in. But I don't think so. I think with the amount of surface area on this filter, I can step from a 30 micron to a 10 and still flow more fuel through there. Now if you get a load of fuel that has a bunch of trash in it, you might have a case for continuing to do the, well, really not. I was going to say you could have a case to do the 30 micron, but screw that. If you get a fuel load full of trash, you'd want the filter to stop it all before it gets to your your engine filter, and then potentially the high pressure pump. So either way you look at it, I think stepping down to a 10 micron with a larger filter in this dual system will be a much better deal. So here's another way. I got these from the Racor store. Actually, it's just these bottom, the silver parts. That also fits on here. And then it has just a pipe thread here, and then you have to adapt it down. So, but I got these, and these fit, and these are just one piece, one connection, one additional connection, where this one would be, 1, 2 connections, 3 connections, or whatever. So I just chose to keep these, and they look nice, much simpler. But you can get these too, and these are actually very cheap, like $9, and then you can get this these are just pipe threadings, and this is a JIC. You can usually get JIC at a hydraulic shop. This right here was from a speed shop, but you have to specify it for 37 degree flare. That's what I have on the boat too. So I think that's it. That is the new addition. Don't know what else to say about that, but next time you see it, it will be installed on the boat. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, thanks a lot. Bye.